So what I'm seeing is Black women are definitely taking off the cape.
Mhm.
We are, I think it has a lot to do with the election. And of course, you've seen the 92%
Yep.
circulating around on social media. And I think we're in this space of just revolutionary rest.
Wellness is trending, but who's controlling the narrative and who exactly is benefiting from it? In this episode, I am so excited to be joined by Dominique Fluker, who is a multi hyphenate, creative force, and storyteller who's shaping the conversation about Black women's well being from the inside out. Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Be Well Sis podcast. I am your host, Dr. Cassandre Dunbar. How has life been treating you? But more importantly, how have you been treating yourself? Me, I have been great. The sun is shining. The birds have been chirping. The pollen is pollinating. My gosh, I can barely breathe, but I'm happy though. So today we are joined by Dominique, who is a multimedia journalist and interior design storyteller who currently serves as the contributing lifestyle editor at Essence Magazine. She's got her finger firmly on the pulse of Black women's wellness, what's trending, what's timeless, and what we're truly craving in this season of our lives. In this episode, we talk about the power of community in sustaining long term wellness, the double edged sword of social media and the pressure to perform self care, and how authenticity is one of the most radical things we can hold on to in this culture of comparison. So go ahead and grab a cup of coffee or tea or maybe something a little bit stronger because we don't judge, and let's get into it. As always, thank you so much for joining. I am so glad you're here. Be well, sis. What's your journey been?
I started my career, I went to Sarah Lawrence College and graduated in 2014. And I started my career as a digital copywriter
Mhm.
at PR agencies. So I was working on, big accounts like Air New Zealand, Title, Microsoft Pulse, and then kind of risen up the ranks in the agency system and became an account supervisor, where I was working with influencers, right? So I was doing digital campaigns with influencers before
Wow.
influencers had their own managers and things like that. Sometimes they would hire agencies to contract them out for major campaigns. And I did that for like Adobe.
Wow.
Then I went into tech. So I'm from Oakland, California. I was working in San Francisco, Silicon Valley, and I've worked at all the big tech companies like Meta, within Meta, Instagram,
Wow.
Glassdoor, TikTok, and LinkedIn. And then I decided, and it was really God actually, who encouraged me to apply to USC's master's program for
Mhm.
journalism. So I just quit everything. I quit TikTok.
Wow.
I packed up my car, my little baby Lexus, and I drove down that freeway
Wow.
without, knowing if I got into grad school. Definitely didn't have a job lined up.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, so when I um, settled here in March of 2022, and it's my third year of my anniversary for Los Angeles. So I'm really excited this month.
Aw.
But when I settled here, I found out that I got into grad school, and then that's when things just started rolling. But I've always had my column. I had a column at Forbes Women
Mm.
on the side when I was working my 9 to 5. And that's how I really got into writing before I went into
Wow.
grad school. And I freelanced at Essence for years before I was brought on as contributing lifestyle editor.
Wow. You hopping in the car without your confirmed acceptance or a job is like, talk about having faith and confidence. Wow.
Crazy faith. And, my mom, she recently passed,
Oh, I'm sorry.
but God bless her because she was the only one I told.
Hmm.
And she was so encouraging for the move. And she wanted me to get my master's anyway. And so she was like, just go. I'm okay. This is going to be amazing for you. And I just kind of mustered up the courage to go to Los Angeles. I never even lived
Wow.
here before. So it was definitely an adjustment, but I'm so glad that I really took that chance and banked on myself.
Yeah. Ooh, that is right, that right there is like so many gems and like such a powerful lesson that we can all draw from. Like if you believe in something, go. Like get up and go. Don't sit. So you write a lot about wellness, right? So how do you think the media, excuse me, has shaped our perception of what it means to be healthy and to be well, our as in Black women?
You know what? I think that's such an interesting question. I feel like a lot of Black women are kind of divesting from what the media tells us that is well and really leaning on their inner circles and communities. I know a lot of women in Los Angeles who are steadily bringing communities of care to Black women, whether that's breath work,
Mm,
curated dinners, making sure the dinners are farm to table with Black chefs. I think that is something that we have kind of co-opted into our own, where we're not relying on media's definition of what makes us well.
yeah.
We are curating our own wellness systems and practices, and we are also empowering others to really stand up in that space and reach a hand back to help those who want to be well but might not know where to start.
Yeah, yeah. I always say that I'm really proud of this generation because I feel like we're going back to our roots, you know?
Mhm.
Like it was very community oriented and community based and we've we're back there, you know? And I think especially in today's climate, we absolutely need that and to need to double down even more on that because
Definitely. We're all that we got.
period.
And that's what we, at least the coverage that I'm doing at Essence is really underscoring that when it comes to making sure we're having Black women experts across the board for everything. I
Mhm.
have such a great Rolodex of Black wellness practitioners that fall under the gamut of therapists, relationship experts, sexologists. And it's
Mhm.
important for that representation to be seen because a lot of people don't know that, hey, we have Black sex researchers, we have
Yes.
Black sexologists. Of course, we have amazing wellness practitioners in the medical space, everything from OBGYNs to but primary care
Mhm.
physicians. We have that. And
Yep.
at Essence, that is so important for us to make sure that's clear and we are platforming these wellness professionals in an amazing way.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think it's especially important too, just because we take care of us, and like you said, it's all we got. I think about the conversation I had with Dr. Nicole Hargens, who recently contributed to a piece over at Essence, and she was talking about her book, Good Sex. And one thing that I learned in speaking to her is that she headed a really large research that focused on like the sexual habits and thoughts and things of Black folk because we are usually excluded from all of those studies and things like that. So bringing it back to how Essence is highlighting us is super important that we see ourselves in spaces and that people are actually looking to hear what we're doing, what are the trends and things of that nature. So I appreciate your work and having that hefty Rolodex.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, she's been such a great source and resource for me for these articles. And when I created the sex column in 2023, we originally named it Sex Talk. Now it's called Pleasure Principles.
Yes.
It was, I didn't think it was considered as revolutionary as Dr. Candace told me on the phone when we did that interview for her book, Good Sex. And she said that she was thankful that I was able to, bring sex
Yep.
back consistently on the platform. And it's really just a testament to what our audience is looking for
Mhm.
and what they're interested in. And again, it just goes back to representation.
Yeah, for sure. So because you're so tapped in, so yes, we're interested in talking about pleasure and sex. What else are you seeing that's really being like what are you seeing that we want to hear about, we want to talk about and conversations that we're having one on one?
Yeah, for sure. So what I'm seeing is Black women are definitely taking off the cape.
Mhm.
We are, I think it has a lot to do with the election. And of course, you've seen the 92%
Yep.
circulating around on social media. And I think we're in this space of just revolutionary rest. We are really putting ourselves at the center of our lives again. We're
Yeah.
centering ourselves, and I think that is so important because while we're not out of doing the necessary work in terms of educating our communities, getting out in the field and participating on some fronts, we are making sure that we're replenished enough
Mhm.
to do that.
Yep.
And I think that just goes into what the core tenets of self-care is. And I also feel like, soft living, soft life, a couple of years back, unfortunately got a bad rep. And I love the idea of soft living. And when I wrote, I think it was 20, uh, 23, that 2023 article that was in print about soft living does not actually have anything to do with materialism.
Mm.
I think that was my main point of what we're doing now.
Yep.
We are going back to community systems that have always worked for us
Yep.
and driven by us
Yep.
really well. So again, that communal aspect, meeting up with your girlfriends, even you don't even have to spend any money. You are in your apartments and
Mhm.
you're talking, you're playing board games, getting off social media.
Mhm.
And then also you have to make sure that you are taking care of yourself physically
Mhm.
and emotionally. So I see a lot of Black women continuing to prioritize therapy as well. Also, breath work is another trend
Yes.
that's really emerging, taking time to slow down because not everyone feels comfortable or can meditate. So I
Yeah.
think breath work, it really steps in to kind of alleviate that pressure of like, oh, I need to meditate for 10 to 20 minutes to really get zenned out. Like, how about you just sit down, take a couple of breaths, work with a facilitator, and that will kind of help with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do think self care is always going to be paramount to Black women, but we're approaching it in a different way where we are leaning off the materialism or not connecting with that so much. At least
Mhm.
that's what I'm seeing in my spaces,
Mhm.
whether professional and personal,
Mhm.
and leaning into what feels good in our soul, for our soul.
Yeah, yeah, same. Because when the idea of soft life first emerged, I had the same feeling, similar to what you wrote about, because I'm just like, okay, this sounded so good, but now it's like we're buying, consuming, and it's just keeping us on that same hamster wheel, that same rat race, right? Because all of these luxury experiences, they're not free; they come at a cost. Usually, that cost is our time, it's our bodies, it's our mental health, just to flex for the gram for a little bit, right?
Mm.
So to your point, I'm so happy that I'm seeing this shift. And I also want you to expand on, if you like, on the what it really means for us to opt out. Um, since the election, I think there's been some miscommunication as to what that means for some folks. Some people think, well, it's a lazy approach or it's giving up and whatnot. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, and just to preface, I'm not a political pundit. I do want to make sure that I'm answering your question from a wellness perspective. And so
Mhm.
for me, what it looks like is minding our business,
Mhm.
the business that pays us or doesn't,
Mhm.
making sure that we're pouring into ourselves before we do anything else. I
Yep.
think sometimes, and I don't want to generalize, at least for me as a Black woman, sometimes I feel like I'm pouring and doing all this stuff and the result isn't really there.
Yep.
And so I think we're pulling back our energy and focusing that on us so we can
Mhm.
replenish and go back out there
Mhm.
on our time and help the community.
Yep. With a regulated nervous system. Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
That's
Yep.
very important.
Yep.
And, it's going to be National Stress Awareness Month next
Mhm.
in April, and cortisol levels are at an all-time high. We need to make sure that we manage our stress levels because it
Mhm.
does result into a lot of physical issues down the
Yeah.
line. And so I do think that while mentally and emotionally we're pulling back, we're making sure that our bodies are right too, not just for aesthetics,
Mhm.
but inside and out, how are
Yeah.
we feeling? And whether you're doing that individually through journaling, sometimes that doesn't work for others. I'm also about to try doing voice memos instead of journaling, um,
Mhm.
as just as a test, because sometimes you can vent a lot and it just seems a little stagnant energy. Or whether I also have a therapist that I've been with for 10 plus years, so sometimes you kind of need that buffer period before your therapy appointment. So
Okay.
I'm going to try, um, talking on my phone with the voice memo and see if that kind of pushes
Yeah.
out some unwanted emotions.
Yeah.
But
You
you
know what
always be willing to try and do new things.
Yep, yep. And that reminds me of, I was watching, one of Beyonce's documentaries a couple of weeks ago, and she was in front of her laptop just talking to
Mhm,
herself essentially.
mhm.
That reminds me, very similar, just like get it out
Yeah,
first and then talk to somebody else about it if necessary, if you want to.
yeah, and
Yeah.
process it, because we're all going through things, right? So we wanna make
Mhm,
sure that we're being mindful of others' capacity,
mhm.
and bandwidth for deeper conversations.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So I would love to know, um, are you on TikTok at all? Like, are you on like, do you scroll TikTok? Okay.
So
So
I don't like to have too many platforms that I'm chronically on. Um,
mhm,
I'm mainly on Instagram, but I have to be on TikTok for wellness trends and
yes.
industry, trends in general. So yes, I do have a TikTok account. Is it populated? No.
Same. I have a TikTok that I'm just lurking. I just like to see what's going
Yeah,
on.
I mean, I post there a little bit here and there, but I'm not a
Yeah,
content creator.
I get it. I get it. So what are you seeing, I guess, on both platforms, on Instagram and TikTok? What are some wellness trends that you're feeling, some that you're just like, "Okay, no."
Well, I think, the one that I'm like, "No," right now that I recently wrote about was the ChatGPT,
Okay.
CPT. I feel like a lot of social media users in general, specifically those on TikTok, if you look up, ChatGPT, you'll find out that there are a lot of people substituting therapy sessions for AI. And I
Mhm,
think that's really, really dangerous. While it can be good to get out your feelings, do you really want to have um, a
mm,
platform know your deepest, darkest secrets? Number one,
yeah.
you don't know what it's
Yeah.
going to be used for.
Yeah.
Next, I don't think anything can substitute human connection and understanding and empathy. And so
Agreed.
that was a trend that I flagged internally and decided to write about. And then we also got several experts to speak to the benefits of
Mhm,
doing that, because I think we want to make sure that we have a fair representation when it comes to reporting,
mhm,
but also the perils of using an AI platform to subsidize human connection. And so I think that's my main one right now that I'm
mhm.
like, no, we need to
Yeah.
make sure that we are um, really leaning on human support, number one, and also trusted, expert, licensed therapist. But I think some of the mini trends are great. I mean, like the Sleepy Girl mocktail, I tried it and wrote about it for Essence. However,
Mhm.
you want to make sure that you are, with all these trends, you are consulting an expert, whether it's
Right.
your primary physician, primary care
Mhm.
physician, a therapist, someone who is knowledgeable
Yeah.
about what they are talking about. I think that's
Yeah.
really important. So with the Sleepy Girl mocktail, I tried it for maybe 3 days. The first
Mhm.
2 days took where I was out like a light, and then that next day, it didn't work. So
Oh.
again, like, we have to make sure that, we are doing if you wanna try it, fine, but make sure
Mhm.
you do it in moderation, and
Yeah.
also make sure that it might not be the same for you.
Yep.
So err on the side of caution,
Yep.
but definitely wanted to try it out for the side and write about it. I think TikTok is one. I mean, I worked at TikTok,
Mhm.
so it's a phenomenon that
Mhm.
um, is going to continue to shape our social patterns,
Very much.
how we approach wellness, and it's shaping the culture. So, of course, I have to be on it and engaged with it to a certain extent. The other one, too, the Winter Arc Challenge I wrote about for Essence, that was mainly about kind of going hard for your goals before the new year. And while I do appreciate how people have been so ambitious nowadays for their
Mhm.
goals, I'm like, okay, make sure you rest too.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we don't like, if you didn't do it throughout the year, don't try to cram it in
Right.
a couple of months before the new year. Like,
Right.
just make sure that you stand on whatever you did or tried to do throughout the year and let that be enough. So those are a couple of, trends from TikTok.
The winter arc one, I just had to scroll through like, okay, not interested because it's
Yeah.
like we are so hard on ourselves just in general as a community, as a culture, as a society even. And it's like we're always trying to produce, 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 produce. And it's like, okay, are we doing it? Like, yes, it's good to have goals and be ambitious and things like that, but are we doing it just to check off a boxes to say we did it? And you actually had you wrote a thread the other day. It was short and sweet and I felt it. It was like, I think
Oh, I love threads.
me too. Me
I love
too. It's like right now my thread is like perfectly curated. It's for me. I don't see any nonsense on it.
yes. Nope.
But I
Oh,
think you said like something to the effect of not stop trying to be that girl or trying
yeah.
like I feel like the winter arc was kind of in that same vein for me, is how I saw
Yeah.
it.
Well, I
Yeah.
can speak on it. I mean, stop trying to be an it girl or stop trying to be
Yes.
a girl or that girl where it's essentially a carbon copy of somebody else or what
Yes.
you even consider an it girl to be in your mind. Just be yourself. And
Yes.
I love the girls, but sometimes the girls go on and on and on about I'm that girl, I'm the it girl. And I'm like, well, sweetie, it's good to have self-confidence, but for
Yes.
me, I've always looked at the divas in my life, namely my mom, number
Mhm.
1, but also, the celebrity divas like Mariah Carey,
Mhm.
Beyonce,
Mhm.
um, who else? Toni Braxton. I love
Mhm.
Toni Braxton. She's like an
Mhm.
icon to me. When I got to interview her, it was, like,
Oh my
amazing.
goodness.
But I don't see those girls saying
Right.
they're the it girls or they're
Right.
that girl. I mean, Beyonce just put a song out about I'm that girl,
After
20 years later
years.
from her career. Like, I just think and, you always wanna be self-confident for sure, but I always kind of lean on the side of let others say your character. You know what I mean? Like, not
Mhm.
that you need validation from anyone, you don't, but
Mhm.
it means more when others are saying X, Y, and Z about you in a positive light. I'll just
Yeah.
say it like that. But,
Yeah.
again, social media, influencer culture, content creator culture, everybody wants to be that girl, but I feel
Yep.
like no one really has an identity now.
Agreed. Which, I for the people who like came up behind me, like I could imagine how much harder it is where you literally are growing up on the internet.
Mm,
That's your norm, and going back to the chat GPT thing, I think one of the reasons why people feel so comfortable, like maybe sharing their deepest, darkest secrets with chat GPT because I think there is such a disconnect between like people. I think the pandemic helped to
yeah,
amplify that as well.
that
We're
is
used to machines.
I'm so glad that you brought that up because I also posted on my threads, like, I miss third spaces. Where are the
Mhm.
spaces where
Yep.
I mean, when I was growing up, I'm not an auntie yet, y'all, so
I'm
don't
very
even
much an auntie.
okay, not an auntie yet. However, as a millennial, well, I I can fill that role, but I'm not don't call me
Yeah.
auntie.
Fair.
Okay, thank you. But when I was growing up and when I was in high school, in like 2007, we definitely had
The mall.
third spaces. Yeah, the mall, but we also had like the roller skating rink. We had the
Yes.
ice skating rink. There was even teen clubs and lounges for us.
Yes. Oh my
Like, we
gosh.
used to have a time off the
Yeah.
internet. and or on our sidekicks, and when we got
Yeah.
home, we would upload pictures from our digital camera onto MySpace if
Yep.
we felt like doing it.
Yep.
But we had a time where it was like, okay, like, girl, I'll see you at the basketball games. I'll
Mhm.
see you at these teen clubs. But now it's a weird type of dynamic where, I definitely think the pandemic has a lot to do with it. But even before then, it was like, okay, are you guys talking to each other, or are we just
Yeah.
everybody's online on their phones? Like for me,
Yes.
I'm on Instagram. I mainly post my work there.
Mhm.
People are like, "Oh, we're like, friends." It's like, honey, I don't post a lot of my personal life. Like, so
Mhm.
don't look for it. But I am going out and I'm having fun. So I think for me, I just have a different type of relationship to social media where I really look at it as a platform to put out my work.
Yep.
But when it comes to like really personal things,
Yeah.
I'm not
Right.
really posting it as much just because you need to have something for yourself. And
Yeah.
I like to connect in person, in real life.
Right.
So I think the lack of physical spaces, third spaces that
Mhm.
are comfortable, that are open, and just specifically for socializing has allowed people to rely on machines.
Yep.
And then some people have a lack of trust with others, whether
Yeah.
being betrayed, their business all up in the streets. I've had that
Mhm.
happen to me as well. Not fun.
Yeah.
But you have to learn how to forgive and trust and be open again to because
Yeah.
not everyone's going to be like that. And
Truly.
I do think, relying on machines for connection, for intimacy, for relational value is very dangerous. And that's something that
Yes.
we should steer clear from.
Yep, for sure. So talk to me about what you're doing to keep your own mental health, emotional health, like all the things. Like what are you doing to tap into your own wellness?
My favorite question. I have so many things.
Ooh, let's talk.
Let's get into it. I love designing spaces. I just redesigned my space in my home. That gives me
Ooh.
a lot of peace. I also love for my personality in my home to reflect. Oh, I have to do a shameless plug. I also have a boutique interior design firm called DBF
Nice.
Interiors. So
Yes.
but aside from that, I love making sure that my home is curated to my personality and it gives me a lot of peace. And I think when you have a home that's just for you or a space that's just for you, it really helps your mental health. I okay, so I haven't really had the time to do it, but at least I have a hobby that I'm passionate about. I love horseback riding. Uh,
Ooh.
Yes, so have been training to become an equestrian. And it's something that I'm interested in doing.
Yeah,
But
that's
no,
dope.
yeah, so I love the horses. I think they're so healing, and you really have to focus because you're up on that
Yes.
horse. You
Yep.
have to guide the horse. You have your instructor in your ear, and there's nothing else that matters in
Yep.
that time in that hour, but you and that horse.
I had my son do horseback riding for therapeutic reasons. He has
Yeah,
ADHD. When he was on that horse, he was a different boy, just one with that horse, like you said,
one with
and
that
just very
horse.
focused, like locked in. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Of course, I do therapy. I've had the same therapist for about 10 plus years
Hmm.
after my father passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And thank you so much.
Mm,
So I'm used to therapy. I love it.
mhm.
I also am really communal. I love my girlfriends. I love going out. Um, what else am I doing? I am beginning to volunteer too, and
Mhm.
that's something that I'll share later. But I am
Nice.
kind of in that philanthropy era, philanthropic era.
Yeah,
And what else? I love going to museums. I love getting outside.
love it.
I guess I just have, as an only child, I feel like I've always have wellness systems to make sure that I'm grounded, healthy, and happy. I love to
Mhm.
read. I love my documentaries, and of
Mm,
course, writing really helps.
yeah.
So yeah.
I love it. I love it. One thing that you said that really resonates with me is you curate a space that reflects you. I actually was thinking to myself the other day, I'm just like, I look around this house, I'm like, this house does not look like me whatsoever. Um, And I'm like, I want to make some changes. And I'm just like, I don't even know what to do. I do not have a design. I know what I like to see. I don't know how to put it together and make it make sense.
Mhm.
So that's going to be a project of mine. I'm going to learn essentially how to make this house my actual home, because we
Mhm.
right now is designed for the boys. Like,
Yeah.
what will they not break, what will they not stain, or what can we clean if they do like spill something on it? And it's like, okay,
Mhm.
like,
No, for sure. I think even if you can't do your whole home right now, you can at least do one part of your home.
it's my
Having
office.
like a yeah, do your office. Your
Yeah.
office is you're there at your office right now, right?
Yep. So this is the only space that is like, okay, this is me. Everything else is not
I
me.
would, like, refresh that
Yeah.
until you feel super comfortable with it, and then also kind of venture out slowly to other parts of the home, like, whether it's a throw pillow or a mirror or a piece of art, you can start little, it doesn't have to be a macro project.
And that's my problem. I'm like, we're gonna change this whole house today. So
No,
that's my problem. Little by little. Yeah.
little by little. Mhm.
I love that. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. This was such a great conversation. I'm so, so grateful that you gave me your time today and just shared your knowledge and your all the good things on your mind. So thank you. Where can the people find you and how can we continue to support you?
Okay, well, you could find my byline if you Google Dominique B. Fluker, and my byline's across several outlets and publications. But definitely read my work at Essence. You'll find me there. Also, you can find me on social media, Instagram at Dominique B. Fluker, and it's spelled Fluker. And then you can find me on X, even though I hardly don't post that, as Dominique Fluker, but
Gotcha.
mainly on Instagram.
Okay, so I will have all of those links down below in the show notes. Again, thank you, thank you, thank you. This was such a beautiful day for me to wait for me to end my week. So I appreciate you. Thank you for listening to this episode of Be Well Sis. If you'd like to get in touch with us, there's a link in the show notes. Be Well Sis is hosted by me, Dr. Cassandre Dunbar, and produced by Edit Audio. Don't forget to hit follow so you never miss an episode. Until next time, be well, sis.